there was something about that always made me feel like I wasn't worth it in God's eyes. A prayer filled with faith. And I was just like, God, I'm just tired. Like, I can't do this anymore. He showed me 3 times in a dream. I was constantly thinking about wanting to not be in this world. But because I knew God and I knew what the knowledge that my mom had instilled in me, I knew that if I kill myself, I'm not going to go to heaven. I'm going to go to hell.
Share it.
Yeah, so about myself, my name is Genevieve. I am 25 years old and I would label myself a creative, and I have always known about Christ. My mom is, I would call her a woman of God. She's a prayer warrior. From a very young age, she's always made sure that the foundation of like my faith has always been there. So even when I didn't understand what was going on, 3 o'clock in the morning, she'd wake me up and we'd be praying. I would be like, yes, Jesus, I love you. But I don't know what I was doing. But yeah, I've always had the knowledge of who Jesus was. For myself, I feel like I've had moments in my life where I've experienced God, where I've experienced Jesus, but I feel like it was a case of I knew of him, but I didn't know him. And I guess it wasn't until probably up until last year when I decided to really take my walk with Christ seriously is when I came to really get to know him. But before that, it was just like very like just small experiences. I think the moment that for me I really got to experience Christ and that I wasn't alone. So I had been dealing with depression since I think year 11, so I was about 15, 16 years old. I don't know how it started, where it came from. I can't really pinpoint a time, but it was there. It was lingering. I think I made it my personality because I am an emotional, sensitive person. So for me, crying every day, that just became my normal. It's like, yeah, I'm emotional, so that's me. Feeling really down about certain things. I take things very seriously. I take things to heart. I decided to make that my personality. So I was dealing with that all through year 11, all through the summer. And then moving into our new house, there was a situation where I was sexually assaulted. And then I feel like that just kind of made things worse. And because I guess it's just a psychological thing where you don't really want to accept it, so you suppress it and you make a joke about it, you laugh about it, all of this stuff. And then I remember one time my mom, because I told her about it, but I didn't want her to do anything about it just because there was other things going on at the time. And I remember a couple of months after she had, I think we were listening to a sermon and she was talking about how forgiveness is really important and all of this stuff. And I think that was the first time I showed emotion concerning that situation, because before that, I didn't accept that it happened to me. Like, it happened, but I was just like, I just kind of like put it in the back of my mind. And then when my mom mentioned, you know, it's really important to forgive and all of this stuff, that was the first time I felt emotion. And I remember I cried for a very long time. And so, yeah, and then I think through that, my depression just got even worse. I remember sixth form and it was really severe. So my experience with it, I was going through suicidal ideation. So I was constantly thinking about wanting to not be in this world. But because I knew God and I knew what the knowledge that my mom had instilled in me, I knew that if I kill myself, I'm not going to go to heaven, I'm going to go to hell. I just had very low self-worth, very low self-esteem. I didn't like the way that I looked, and there was a pain that I used to feel in my heart. I don't know if it's just like from emotions, from my thoughts, but I was just feeling heartache. And I felt like the only way that I could, because it was so like hard, so severe, the only way that I could deal with that was through self-harm. So my depression was very deep. It was just a lot of things, and I didn't think it was that, because when I'd go to sixth form, I was fine. I was with my friends, I was laughing, I was having conversations. I never felt those emotions. And then I'd get home and I'd be crying, I'd be going over the things that happened in the day. I'd be talking very negatively about myself, and I used to listen to secular artists that aren't good for you, basically. And I used to listen to it in like on my headphones, like on 100% blast, and it obviously was having an effect on me as well. It got to a point where I was just tired emotionally. I was just very emotionally drained. Every new year, and it's a tradition that we do now, and we always spend time together. So we go into the new year praying, you know, we kind of do like a little therapy session where we tell each other, this is what you did wrong, you need to fix it. But I remember that year, I just remember coming before God, and I think that was the first time that I'd ever prayed, and I was very genuine with it. Like it was a prayer filled with faith. And I was just like, God, I'm just tired. Like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm always hoping that every single time I go into a new week, that I feel different, I feel happier, I feel this, I feel that. But it just seems to get worse and worse and worse. Like, I'm just tired. That's what I kept saying. It wasn't a thing of I just want to be happier, I want to be this. I just said to him, I am just tired. And it wasn't a case of like the 31st of December I was depressed and the 1st of January is fine. It was definitely a process. And it came to a point where there were certain situations that would happen. It didn't affect me anymore. And when I realized that, I said, okay, so my prayers just, it wasn't in vain. Like, it's actually happening. Like, I can slowly feel myself, you know, getting better. Like, I'm not self-harming. I don't have these thoughts. I'm not indulging myself in sinful things. I can see a change in myself. Obviously, I wasn't fully, you know, like recovered, but I was on track. And then I remember there was a point where I was questioning the friendships that I had in sixth form. And I prayed to God. I was like, God, I need you to show me, like, what is going on? Like, are these my true friends? Like, you know, are these the people that I'm meant to be around? And he showed me 3 times in a dream. I didn't listen to him because I was just like, it's not true. And then until it actually happened in real life. So one of my doubts was that they talk about me behind my back. They were doing it to other people, but I didn't know if they were doing it to me as well. And then he literally, I remember I came down for lunch. I was like, oh, I haven't spent time with them in some time, so let me sit down with them. I was actually feeling bad that I was spending time with my real friends rather than them. And then I sat down, and there was just things that were just said, and it was just confirmed right in my face that these people, they're not my friends. They talk about me behind my back. They have very negative things to say about me. And me being in that friendship group was one of the reasons why my self-worth was so low, because I would act in a way that was like, oh, I'm trying to like I'm just following them around. I'm doing what they want to do. I was never really truly myself around them. Up until that point, I was slowly getting better. And then it got to uni. And I think with uni, I was only at uni 2 times in the week. So for the rest of the week, I'd just be at home. A lot of my roommates were out, so I'd just be by myself. And there was that that feeling of like loneliness. And because I obviously moved very far away from like my friends and my family, the anxiety was also there, because I was also dealing with really bad like social anxiety. Like, I'd stutter when I speak to people. I'd find it really hard to speak up, and I'd find myself in situations where like I just couldn't like just speak up in situations, or I wouldn't do certain things because my anxiety would get to the best of me. And then it got to second year of university, and I can't really remember what it is that prompted me, but I was like, I really need to develop a relationship with God. You know, I started developing a routine. I'd wake up at 5:30 in the morning, I'd pray, I'd read my Bible, I'd always make sure that I was listening to sermons, even if I was like doing my assignments. I was always very intentional with it. And I'd say it was definitely a genuine time, because I felt like God had opened up my eyes to certain things regarding my family. I was seeing the world very differently. And because of my depression in the past, there was something about that always made me feel like I wasn't worth it in God's eyes. Like, it was like, okay, like, God, yes, like, I know you and I'm speaking to you, but like, you know, I was thinking of suicide, and I was self-harming, and I was doing all these things that, you know, it wasn't pleasing to you. And I remember there was a time I was getting ready, I think for work or uni, and I was literally just simply in my room. I was doing my makeup, and I heard a voice saying that it doesn't matter what happened in your past, like, you are my daughter and I love you despite that. As long as you know who I am and you focus on me, then that's all that matters. Like, your past, it doesn't concern me. And I was very comforted with that in that moment. And, you know, things were going well. And I guess just the way when you're in the world and there's so many things happening in your life, you backslide and, you know, you kind of like go back into that, like, just being lukewarm. And my life was like that for a while because of the job that I was doing. It took a lot of my time. So and the only time if I was praying, it was only because I wanted something from God. It wasn't because I was just seeking him, or it was just because I genuinely wanted a relationship. It was just like, okay, I need money, or I need this, or I need this, let me go to God. But apart from that, I was just doing things on my own. And then it wasn't until end of 2021, I was like, okay, I'm about to turn 25. And I don't know what it is. I feel like with a lot of girls, before you turn 25 or as you're turning 25, you have this moment where you're just like, oh my God, like, I should be like married and have kids and my life and all of this stuff. And I just had a moment where I was just like, I'm about to be 25 next year. I really need to get my life right and be right with God. And with the church that I go to now, I've been here, I think, 3 times as a visitor, and out of all the churches that I'd been to before, this was the one that I really felt like it was gonna help me with my walk with Christ. And I think I came twice, and my social anxiety got to me. Like, there was just something about it. Like, I think the enemy was just like, oh, like, it was just like, this is a new environment for you, like, you don't really belong here. And my anxiety got to me, and there was a couple of weeks where I didn't come, and then I came to realize that I'm the one that said that I need to come to church. Like, I accepted that call from God, so I need to take it seriously. So I was like, okay, let me like put effort into being consistent. I started being consistent, and within that time, God has really, I've now come to know God. Rather than it being like I come to him and I pray to him because I want something, I just do it because I'm actually seeking him, and I'm seeking a relationship with him. And he has shown me him in so many different ways, whether it's through songs, whether it's through a sermon, whether it's, you know, me being intentional with my quiet time. He's, you know, whether it's a presence that I feel, or his voice, or a very overwhelming sense of like natural joy and love. I've been able to experience that from him, and I'm learning more about myself, who I am in him, and more about him. And I'm excited to see where he's going to take me next. The piece of advice that I would give to a Christian who is dealing with depression right now is, although it may feel like it, know that you are not alone. And in your pain and in your sorrow and everything that you may be going through, God sees you. And the most important thing to remember is that he just wants a relationship from you. He's not asking for deeds, he's just asking for intimacy and a relationship. And I can guarantee that when you are, and do it like with a genuine heart, don't do it with like, oh, like if I pray once and tomorrow I'm going to be fine. Because, you know, although God is amazing and he can do everything, we are also humans, and it takes time for us to get over things. So I would say that if you really, really do want to be released from this like spirit of depression and darkness, seek God with a genuine, pure heart. And before you know it, he will show you that he is with you, and he will literally change your life and turn it around.
Amen.
Amen. My name is Genevieve, and this is Share It.